Hiya, it's Amanda here from Lolli Lulu Crafts, and this week we have another batch make in inverted commas because this is just 3 cards, but of course, as always, you can obviously multiply that by more, but I just wanted to start off with 3 just to show you what I had in mind, and I hope that you'll enjoy. It's these beautiful cute little images from Lily of the Valley. I just think they're so irresistible. I used the little penguins down the bottom there with the Merry Christmas banner a few years back, and I think it was probably one of my favourite Christmas images, and I even use it on the top of my website as part of my Christmas themed website, so I liked it that much. So I hope that these ones turn out just as nice, and I hope you enjoy. So let's get crafting. So I want to keep this pretty simple, so I'm going to be using these Kraft cards. These are pre-scored Kraft card bases, but you can of course cut and score your own if you don't have any. And then I'm going to just be stamping my images onto the front directly of these cards, but again, if you prefer to mat and layer, you can, but because I want to do a number of them, I wanted to keep it really simple. And I think again for Christmas cards it's really nice to have that single layer for postage and stuff. People seem to like that. Now I'm using my stamp platform, and this is the Tim Holtz one, so I just need to make sure that it's got the rubber stamp lid in position, so I just flip that around. Then I'm taking my Simon Says stamp embossing ink, but any clear ink will work for this, and all you're doing here is creating this no lines effect, because once you colour, this is just basically darkening the Kraft card. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it, but once it dries that will go off, and so that just darkens the card, and so you can see the lines that you need to colour to, but once you colour it in, those lines won't show anymore. Then I decided I wanted to put sentiment on, so again I need to now flip my stamp platform lid around again because this is a clear stamp. I'm using my VersaFine Onyx black ink for this sentiment, and it looks a bit strong at the moment, but obviously once we've coloured in our penguins that will look a lot better, and these are the other 2 that I did as well. So that's all 3 cards, and now we're on to the colouring. So I'm going to start off with this first one, and I'm going to go through it with you talking. The next 2 I'm going to show you the colouring, but I'm just going to stick some music over the top, but I thought it might be handy just to talk through the first one with you. So first of all, I'm using my Prismacolor pencils, but any pencils that you like to use obviously will work fine. I will, as always, put a list of the colours on the blog posts so you know exactly what I've used. So what I started with was a very pale kind of bluey grey colour. It's a kind of icy grey, and I've just used that to be my shadow around the faces and the tummies of the penguin. So I put that down first where I wanted it to be very slightly darker, and it really is only just there. It's almost like you can't see it, but if it wasn't there you would know that there wasn't like a shadow. It just gives that shape without it being super obvious, because it still wants to be white, so it's important to keep that, and I thought this was a perfect colour for it, being this sort of icy colour. The other thing you'll notice is I put 2 little pink cheeks on one penguin, obviously one on the other because he's sideways, and I also avoided the eyes and the little eyebrow on the penguin and on the snowman here, because white is really difficult to go over. It sort of blends the cardstock in and makes it smooth, so it's you can do it with the black, but it is easier if you're going over it and you want to add in like the eyes, and also it's easier to see where they go. It's easier to leave those out and not coloured, so that's why I did that. And then I'm just going over the snow and the snow flakes. They're kind of almost like snowballs, aren't they, rather than flakes, but anyway, the snowflakes that are coming down. And now we're going to do the eye, so you can see how it's much easier because you get a real crisp image from that because you haven't put the white on. It's not going to dilute it to grey or anything like that. And then obviously the little buttons down the front of the snowman, and I haven't done the mouth on the snowman yet, but I will come back and do that later. I just haven't done it quite yet. Then we're going to his little arms. Now for this, obviously there's sticks. I just went for a single colour. I thought that was perfectly adequate for what I was doing here. Next, I wanted to do the little beaks and the little feet. Again, for this, for most of these things, I will use 2 colours at least, just to create a shadow. So even on these small little beaks, I've used a darker sort of orange and then like almost a yellowy orange, and it just gives a little bit of depth and a little bit of dimension. But if you prefer to not do that, then obviously you can do this with 1 colour. So after I finished doing the little feet and obviously the nose on our snowman, I started on the black of my penguins. Now unfortunately my camera, I hadn't realised had switched off, so you missed a little bit of me doing that, but there's still plenty to go. So we're now working on the black of our penguins, and for this I'm using 3 colours because I really want to get that depth of and shape of our little penguins. So with black, you actually do have quite a lot of light colour in the black because it has a lot of shape and dimension, particularly a little round fluffy penguin. He's sort of got that roundness to him, and you want to really demonstrate that by your colouring if possible. Now you don't have to use 3 colours, you can use 2 if you prefer, if you find that a little less threatening. I personally just think that with the blend you just add that little bit of extra something by adding that 3rd colour in the middle there, that lightness. So basically all I've done is I start with the dark colour. With pencils I find that's the best way to go because the lighter colours smooth the paper. I don't know how to explain it, but they seem to smooth it out. They smooth the blend out, and it then stops you being able to add layers of colour more easily, or so easily I should say. So what I'm doing is I'm being very careful where I'm putting the light colour at the moment, and you'll see that I started off with a reasonably large area, but as I'm blending it out it gets smaller and smaller, and then I'm just adding a little bit of a highlight there, then taking the mid colour and just darkening it very slightly because it is quite a bright light grey that I'm using for the highlight. And you start off by going around the edges in this instance of your little penguin, because obviously he's very round, he's a little dumpy penguin, and so everything is going to be darker because those areas at the edges are falling away, so they're going to be darker than the center. So then I take my mid-tone and then the light color, and I just gradually go back through the colours, blending it out until I get the blend that I'm happy with. And the light colour will help you do that because, as I said, the light colour helps you blend it through. So sometimes what you do is you take the light colour out a lot further, then go back with your mid-tone over that light colour just to help that blend come through. So now I'm just working on my other penguin here, and you'll see even on his little head there I've just put little bit of highlights on the side there because that would sort of be the area that perhaps would catch the light. Now on this one you can see that I'm keeping the top of his wings in the center there. I haven't put any black on. Now I may go back and do that, but at the moment I'm keeping it so that it will be light because his little wings are out. The light will be hitting the top of those wings, and it will be the top that's the lightest color, and that part isn't rounding away, it's literally having the light hit it, so you want to keep that completely light, whereas before we went all the way around the edges. It doesn't work quite the same because of the way that the little wings are held out. Now I decided on this one, because it was quite a rounded puffy little wing, that I would just add a tiny bit of the dark at the back, and you'll see that I'm gradually blending that out even further using the light colour going over the top. But it just added a little bit of something because that was a slightly fatter looking wing. I just thought that would work better for it, and also I just thought it just added a little bit more dimension. But on the other side I just left it as it is. So that's all our black done. So now we're going to move across to the hat on our snowman. So again for this we're going to use 2 colours. I'm starting with a darker brown, where again I'm putting it in the dark where the shaded areas would be, so under where the penguin is, because obviously the penguin creates a shadow, and then on the outside that will have the dark, that's the lightest area. I'm sorry, I'm very slightly off center with the camera there. Now you'll see I added just a tiny bit of dark around the brim there, because where the brim goes into the hat, that obviously would be shaded because that's creating like a crease, and that crease would be more shaded. So that's why I did that. Then I'm onto the nose, the same as I did with the penguin's beaks, the same idea. The only thing I did with this was I did add a tiny bit of red just around the bottom part of the carrot there, just to again just make it a little darker than the penguin's feet and noses. So now we're moving on to the scarves, and I wanted to make these quite Christmassy in colours, so I'm using a green for this one. I'm going to use a red for another one, but again I'm using two colours. So on this one we've got obviously where you can see the shape of the scarf, it's going to be darker on the underside nearest to the penguin. So again I've put the darkest area at the bottom there, although it's going to be this particular stripe is going to be the darker of the greens. So I'm doing the dark green and then the mid green, and then for the stripes in between I'm doing the mid green and the brighter light green. So it's bringing the same tones because we're using that mid green on both, but it's just allowing that shadowing to go through the same by leveling up our shadows of the dark areas, but also keeping the tones the same by using that mid green on both parts. And I think that works really nicely, and I love that bright green. It just lifts the image. It's quite a lot of black and white and stuff, so I felt that would work really well. Once I was happy with how I was doing the stripes and everything, I went back and I did all of the stripes. Now you'll see on some of them I've done dark sort of top and bottom, so that bit that's going around his neck, it's got dark on the sort of top and bottom of the little stripe, and the middle part is the lighter area. That's because that's curving around inside both parts. The top and the bottom of it is right tucked into his neck, so we wanted to give that impression of it being kind of tucked in, but the rest of it we did the same as we did the top. Now this one again, I'm sorry I missed some of the stripes on this, but basically for red you quite often use brown to create the darker shades. You can't always use a darker red, it doesn't always have enough depth. So for my stripes I actually used a really dark brown followed by a normal sort of dark brown, and then for the actual red part, the real red part in between, which you'll see me do now, you'll see I used brown where I wanted the shading, and then I went across the whole lot. And the reason you go across the whole lot is because it then turns that brown into a reddy colour rather than just a brown. If you just only went up to the line like you do with normal shading, it wouldn't look red. And then we can move on to the little mitten of our little snowman. Again, for this I wanted it to be red, so I just did the little brown area and went in then afterwards with the red. It's a lovely pillar box red. I then decided that the scarf just needed a little something, so I just added a tiny bit of white to that and also onto the hat there, just to give it a little lift where the light would really hit it. So I just felt that worked better. Then for the snowman, I decided that we needed something I didn't want to go red or green again, and I just thought blue was a really cool colour, and I loved these blues. So again, as I did with the green, what I'm doing here is I'm using a dark blue, it's not that dark, and then a mid blue, and then a pale blue. For the stripes, I'm using the dark and the mid, and then the bigger stripes, I'm using the mid and the light. So that again is just following that tone through. Now you'll see on these ones, I've done the dark on both sides, because if you look at the shape of the scarf, it's kind of curling away and down on both sides. So there's not one side that's perhaps darker than the other. It's both sides of the scarf are going to be slightly darker because they're curling. So I just decided to put the shadow on both sides and then blend it out in the middle with the lighter colour, and that would be our mid blue. So again, I'm just doing all those thinner stripes, which are going to be the darker colours first, and then blending them out. And you can just see where like the knot is. I've just added like a little bit in the middle, just again to give the impression of it knotting, and then just going back over where the dark is with the dark pencil, just really emphasising that shadow and I think that colour is absolutely gorgeous. So then we're moving on to the paler stripes. So we're taking my mid-tone blue here, and again I'm just following exactly as I did with the dark stripes, the shading, so that it matches up. You need it to match so that it looks consistently like it's folded. If you don't match it, it doesn't work. And then so I'm going along doing the shading exactly matching up with the mid blue, and then I'm going into the center with that pale blue. And this is actually one of the blues that I was using. I think it's the blue that I was using for the penguin, if I remember rightly, and it just lightens that up. And then we just went along the bottom again with this for the snow, and then I've taken this little glitter pen and I'm going over the top. It's a little zig glitter pen. I'm just going over the top of our penguin and adding some glitter, and that is it finished. And literally all we need to do then, probably wait for your glitter to dry, but otherwise just fold it in half and your card is complete. So now we're going to go to the others. I'm going to speed these up as well, but I'm not going to talk over these ones. I'm just going to show you the next two with some nice music going on, and if you don't like the music, obviously you can always mute it, and you can then see the colouring how I did it on the other two as well. Okay, so I will be back in a minute to chat with you once this colouring part is finished. Okay, so that's all 3 complete, and I think they look adorable. And if you enjoy colouring, I think this is a really easy, maybe not quite as quick as some bulk batch make cards, but certainly a fun card to make, and easy in the sense of you can just sit there colouring a load. You haven't got a matte layer or anything. You can just stamp a ton out, you know, even if you just did 10, and they're just really personal. I think anything hand coloured like this, I think it's got a real personal feel to it, and I think they just look really, really nice. I hope you do too. So as I say, that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you found it useful to have some chat about the colouring. Do let me know what you think of that, because obviously that's a slightly new thing that I did in this video. I have done it occasionally before, but it'd be nice to know whether you found that helpful or not. And otherwise, don't forget as well to hop on over to the blog posts where you'll see a lot more photos. I did in the end add a little bit more glitter. I used some stickles because once this zig pen dried, you really couldn't see it over the white, so I added some stickles. So do go on over to the blog post where you can see the photos, and also of course, as I said, I'll give you all the colours that I use and links to the products, etc. as well. And of course, while you're there, I'd love it if you subscribe to my website, because then you would get notified every time there's a video, and that's all you get emails about, by the way, nothing else. I only send out emails with regards to when there's a video posted. I would also love it, I feel like I'm begging here. I'd also love it if you could give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already subscribed to the YouTube channel, to do that as well. But definitely any sort of thumbs ups on videos really helps me with YouTube. I've just been saying that a few times lately because I think that I really want to try and expand the channel a bit more, so I would love it if you guys could help me do that. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next week. Bye for now. Bye.